Man, okay. Not gonna lie to you. I was trying to sneak in a little bit of something warm. The allergies are kicking in today, so I'm not gonna lie about that. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I think I'm live. So I was trying to get a little sip in, and it's like, oops, wait a minute, hold on. Okay. Now that I've shared all of that with all of you, welcome. Welcome. It's Wednesday. Can you believe that it's November? It's November, people. I'm like, what? Wait. Just that fast. And with that comes all the things. But we're going to have a great conversation today because we are continuing with our conversation. You know, we started this sometime in September. We started talking about, evolving with all the changes, and we got into a conversation about praxis and mentorship, and we didn't finish it. And so we need to finish it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this intro. I'm going to try to grab another quick drink, but let me play this intro. We're going to get started. Good afternoon. Welcome to Small Biz Bites. I'm your host, Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack. This is streaming live to LinkedIn and streaming live to YouTube. And I'm doing something different today. Today, I am playing with a couple of things. Now, if you're on YouTube, you may very well see two broadcasts. One of them is supposed to be vertical and the other is supposed to be landscape, right? So if you're watching on your phone, you can get it, vertically. If you're watching it on YouTube or your TV, you can get it landscape. Well, I'm trying to make sure that all the things are working. I don't know. We're going to find out the hard way, right? We're going to do it, see what happens. But just in case you're looking for this, well, I guess if you're looking for it, you wouldn't know that we're live because you're in the wrong room. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out later, though. We're not going to figure it out right now. Let me get into my comments really quick here because my mother's here. Hello to my mother. Of course, I'm saying hello back to her. And I see we're duplicating. Oh, because it's in two places. That's why it's duplicating. Isn't that something? So we're going to figure out how this works. The idea is to give the right perspective for the viewer. So no matter where you are, you can see it optimized for your viewing device. I try to be there for the people. You know what I'm saying? I try to be there for the people. And sometimes it works out for me. And other times I'm like, I'm not really sure if it's working out for me. But we're going to figure it out. I will say this. When I was sharing the link, I had to check to make sure I was sharing the link for the landscape and not the portrait viewing broadcast. So we're going to find out. Since my work husband is there, hello, Mr. Ron Foster. I need you to do me a favor, sir. Since you're there, will you just let me know if the other broadcast is broadcasting? You can just put a simple yes or no in there. Just take a quick look for me because I know you'll look out for me. I appreciate that. So, with that said, let me get into it. Okay. That's not allergy medicine. That's just Gwendolyn being Gwendolyn. So I am going to do what I do and bring on my guest. And we're going to get this started. We are bringing back Anthony Roland.
Hey. No issues this time.
I know, right? I know. Let me make sure I treat you properly. So this is Anthony Roland of Anthony Roland Photography. He is back for a second time. Today we're talking about creative growth isn't solo. we're going to focus on why mentorship and practice really matters. And just in case you want to connect with Anthony, and you do, he is on Instagram at AR_photography_16. We'll share that again later in the show to make sure you guys can connect with Anthony. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I was, the allergies, man. I'm really shocked how I just got hit. Like right before we came on, like an hour ago, I got like this intense pressure and I thought, oh, Lord, now look. I've been good all week, Lord. I've been good all week. And then it was bad. I took the glasses off. I had the fan on. I was like, I need to figure something out. So I had grabbed a little bit of caffeine. I got have a macchiato, right? Which is supposed to be good, like for, caffeine in the blood vessels and things. So we'll see how it works. But I said, I'm going to be here for Anthony and the people. Yes.
Yeah, I get it. But it's it's in November. I got it earlier. This point where I felt like I was in a fight. I always feel that way. Like the pressure's here and behind the eyes, and it gets bad. But it only happens once a year. But when it happens, it happens.
Yes, this is the first time it's happened, and I was like a ton of bricks. Okay, well, Mr. Ron Foster, thank you for giving us the deal. We're going to see how all of this works out as he says hello to his adoptive mother. Yes. Oh, Anthony, it's good to have you back, sir. So happy to have this conversation with you. Before I go too far, because this could be someone's first time seeing this. And for those who are going to be watching in the replay, we'll be tagging Anthony's first visit so that you can catch up. I just want to know, again, who are you and what is your superpower, sir?
I'm Anthony Roland. I'm a photographer. My superpower is the ability to stop time in less than a second.
Oh, you know what? Every time you say it, I'm always like, man, I would so believe it. There's so much confidence there. But you are right. You are stopping time. You are stopping time. And when we were talking last, we were getting into practice. We kind of took a trip down the rabbit hole. And we're talking about practice, and I'm going to let you start with it. I'm going to let you start. I forgot, and please forgive me, people. I forgot to ask Anthony to pull some of his beginner work so that we could share it. So I brought some of mine, which I realized I don't share very often. But I just want your perspective first about practice and why it's important. And that's for any craft. I want to make sure we're clear here. Yes, we're photographers, but we're talking any craft. You got to practice. What are your thoughts, sir?
I would say, yeah. I mean, you definitely have to practice, just like with anything else. Just like I said the last time, like don't wait until, you tell everybody, yes, I'm a photographer, and you've taken some photographs and you've shared them on social media, but it's only like a handful, and you don't want to wait until you get the gig and then you're like, okay, and then you're fumbling and you're on YouTube on your cell phone, like, okay, how do I do this? And, how do I adjust these settings on my camera? That's also important. Like you want whatever camera you use, and it needs to be intuitive. So you have to know where things are. So, you may not get gigs to quote unquote practice, but that's okay. People photograph their children, their pets. Like I said before, photograph a soda can, your deodorant, a liquor bottle,
yes,
a book, anything, a bottle of aspirin, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just do something and just get used to going through the menu. Well, what happens if I do this, or what happens if I do that? And we're in an era where, or at least for a long time now, where we can practice as much as we want because we're not shooting film anymore. We don't have to, get these shots, send them out, be developed, come back, see, where you went wrong. You have car's with 128 gigs. You can shoot thousands of photos in practice, and then if they all suck, then you can just reformat the card, delete all the photos, and keep shooting. It also gets you familiar with all the f-stops on your lenses. Like I said before, just where the buttons are, and even after, and I'm probably gonna get shredded for this, but I don't care. Like I've shot for a very, very long time, and I did a gig the other night, and it was it's a birthday party, and it was in this dark room, and on mirrorless cameras, you have a thing called I think it's a daylight or twilight shooting, where when you're looking through the EVF or at the back of the screen, it's dark. So all you see is just these silhouettes moving, and then you get the shot, the flash goes off, and then you look and see, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, duh, I gotta switch the settings of my camera to go in to the menu, get that, and then I was no longer shooting in the dark, right? So but it's things like that. But without experience, you're in panic mode. You don't know what to do. Speaking of, the dial on my flash broke that night. I didn't have a backup flash with me. And it was working before I left, so it had to happen while it was in my bag on the way there, because I'm making adjustments, and I'm going to turn the dial to adjust the power, and it's loose. So now I gotta be like real gentle and just kind of work it out until I get it where it needs to be. But I got to the spot early, like 45 minutes early. So I was able to, make the adjustments, and yeah, even with a flash that was basically held on by duct tape and bubble gum, so to speak.
Sometimes it happens.
You gotta make it work, and there was no panic. I just made it happen.
Before you go on, let me. I said, before you go on, let me jump in here, because you have shared so much that I would love for our audience to be able to unpack it all. One of the things you mentioned was knowing your gear. And this, again, when we talk about practice and finding a mentor, we are discussing it with the idea of it crosses all industries, because a lot of people jump into something that could be writing, it could be photography, it could be baking, it could be anything. But knowing your gear, knowing your tools, that's huge. And I know we have a lot of tools out here right now. We talked about AI last time. There are a lot of tools out here. Having a typewriter, okay, I just dated myself. Having a laptop or a computer, having AI does not make you a better writer. Okay. The same way that having a really nice bundt pan does not make a great cake, does not, like, if you have this really great skillet or what have you, it doesn't make a great dish. You have to practice. You got to know your tools.
Right.
And you have to practice. Just buying the latest, greatest, fanciest something does not make you better than you were the day before. That's not going to happen. Hate to tell you people, we're not in the Matrix. There's no hole in the back of your head where you can just upload info and know jujitsu. Like, this is not the world that we're working in. So you mentioned knowing your gear, knowing how to work with your gear, but you also said in a very distinct way about playing with your gear. The fact that, if you're a photographer, we're not shooting film. You can take as many pictures as you like of things around your home to just get started. You could do, as you say, Think of deodorant. You can do a liquor bottle. You can play with lighting. You can play with aperture. You can play with all the features on either your camera or the camera on your phone. There's so many options available that people just kind of forget. As you also said, because I took some notes. I was taking down notes, Anthony. You also mentioned that you can get a very large SD card and you don't want to wait until you get the gig to figure all this stuff out.
Right.
Can you imagine being paid to bake a cake for someone, but you never practice what this 3-layer, whatever it is, would look like or taste like?
Right.
Like, this is not the time to practice. So that was one of my notes is your first job, that first gig is not the time to practice. That isn't it. So I want to get your opinion on something, because as I said, as you were talking, I wrote down some notes and what have you. What do you think is the barrier that's stopping people from just going out and practicing? Is it a mental thing? Is it a mindset thing? Like, what do you believe it is that people just won't pick up whatever tool that they have? Is it money? It can't be money. If you got the camera, it can't be, but who knows? What do you believe it is?
Sometimes it's just not in that person, like if you want to be a photographer and that's where your passion lies, you're going to pick that camera up all the time. Some people, it's confidence, like they want to be a photographer and they think that, it's cool. And then there's others who they're more fascinated by the end result, and they're not really looking to do the work. Like they like the idea is what I'm looking for. They like the idea of being a photographer, but they don't know what goes into it. My wife dragged me out of my office. I don't know, it had to be about maybe 2:30 this morning. And I got fussed at because I'm traveling tomorrow night. So like I said, I did a party the other day, and I'm trying to get it all done before I leave. So so that's what I'm going to be working on this evening and through the night. To get that done so I can turn those in before I leave. I'm going to the Peculiar Collective. It's a photography conference in Baltimore. So I'll be there this weekend. Basically, you turn the Marriott into a HBCU for creatives.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I learned so much last year. My wife got it for me as a present last year, and then right after they send out the deal, like, okay, if you book early you get this discount, blah blah blah, and I booked like right away. So every time, like, this is not one of those things where people are like, oh my God, is this stuff scripted? It is not, because as we're having this conversation, we want to make sure that those who are watching now or in the replay are getting the notes that need to be received. And one of them, as you mentioned, is the importance to, or I should say, understanding that if you're going to get better beyond practicing, or in addition to practicing, it is also investing in yourself and that continuing education. You're going to have to keep learning, but this all ties in together with getting a mentor. So I want to take a quick little pivot before we go down the topic of continuing education and confidence. And I still wrote down the SD card too. Right.
As well as being early, because as a teacher, early is on time. On time is late, and late is not acceptable. Okay. Right. So if you want to get your stuff together, you're going to be there early. All right, like an hour.
Especially if you've never done before.
Yes, because getting there just right when it starts, Okay. Hey, before we go there, hey, Dr. Tachi's here. Hey, good afternoon, Dr. Tachi.
Hey,
Now,
Dr.
Mr. Roland, I have pulled up some of my earlier work.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell me if your earlier work kind of, felt the same thing, but I started out with a lot of inanimate objects.
Right.
Right? Looking at the light and understanding the light. Being able to see shadows and to just get an idea as to how I want to tell a story. When I took this picture, I was at a restaurant in Houston, and it's actually titled Table for One, right? And it's something about just having this flower and this simple, bottle, and it really was just one chair at the table. I thought, but this is where some of these things start, is where you're noticing the lights. When you're practicing, as you go through all of your things, how important was noticing the light for you?
I honestly, when I first started, like I knew about light and but I didn't know about it the way I know about it now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now I'm looking for it.
Yes.
Like when I'm shooting, especially at church, because the lights are constantly changing in the sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
So you wait for that, especially if you got good white light, it's kind of passing through the sanctuary. You just kind of wait, and you wait and you wait and you find that person that you want. You just wait for that light to swing back, and when it swings back, you get the shot. Sometimes when you're out and about, when you're traveling or something like that, and you see the way that it's lights cast on something, you get the shot and then you keep moving. But early on, nah. I mean, I looked at things in a 35 millimeter frame, so to speak, but I wasn't really worried about, I can't say I wasn't worried about, I wasn't really cognizant of the light. It was just like, okay, this is a cool angle, this is a cool shot, this is a cool whatever. But I never really thought about the lighting the way I think about the lighting now, and that just comes with experience.
I agree, and I'll be honest. Natural light was my nemesis. Yeah, you would be surprised. I was able to, I don't want to say master, but I became comfortable with artificial light before I did natural light. I know, backwards is what it is. Now this one, I actually did a couple of challenges, and this is something too that I believe is also great for practicing, is that if you're joining any kind of group, a community, and they do 30-day challenges, what have you, this one was being able to take your photography and tell a story. So with this one, this was food to die for, hence my little apron that has skull bones on it. And you would think, okay, it's just in the kitchen, what's the big deal? Is like, no, this is food to die for. But it also gave me a chance to play with just different ways of telling the story. And so you mentioned earlier that when you are looking to practice, that you can just use whatever's in your home to play with aperture, to play with lighting, composition. There's so many things that you can just do in your home without waiting for the very first gig to say, okay, now I want to get out here and see how does it work if it's shutter priority versus if it's like, this is not the time to try to play with things. People have paid you for a product.
Yeah, whether it was $50 or $5,000.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to know what you're doing.
Definitely. Now I will say this, and I wrote an article about this as I go to my next one here. I talked about the importance of self-portraits for photographers. Now, I know the last time we were talking, Anthony, you weren't really big on the self-portraits. Last time we talked.
I did one for my website. Let me tell you, that's not easy.
No, it's not.
It is not easy, man.
It is not easy, but I believe it's necessary
Yeah.
because we have to be able to see ourselves, right? See how we see the world through our own lens, but
Hmm.
also too, it gives you a chance to practice again a number of things, given direction and things of that nature, lighting, posing, all those things.
Yeah.
But the photos I'm sharing here, which again speaks a great deal. Now, these are photos that I've done way after we started, right? Being
Yeah.
able to play with lighting, and this is a multi-light image actually, one with all smoke versus one that just has natural light,
Hmm.
using whatever I could use there. Now, I'm not going to tell you the one with the smoke, it is my brother. And I believe if you want to photograph people, you need to use people in your life and say, hey, I would love to play with this idea. Are you game? I'll give you 2 or 3 images, blah, blah, blah. So you got to practice on somebody. And typically your family and friends are more likely to donate their face than the stranger off the street. Have you ever done something of that same sort of idea?
Not really. Other than
What?
outside of my son, I've photographed my brother before. And while I was visiting in New Orleans, he wanted me to do some shots of him, so I did. My son for sure. My wife when we travel and
Okay.
or we just hanging out. Um, I need to do some headshots of my wife. I need to set that. I've been procrastinating on that one, so that's my bad. But
Yeah. Because here's the plus of it. And this goes with again, baking, writing, whatever your craft is. If it's something that you want to offer, at
mhm,
some point you have to play with it. I mean, I'll step back one. People use Pinterest to get ideas, right? Now I'm gonna tell you right now, what Roland does not do are plaid PJ photographs. We're not doing that. I'm not doing plaid PJs. I'm not doing white button down shirts with jeans on the beach. We are not doing that. We're not.
I'm
That's
laughing because I did play at PJs with my son. But here's the thing, though. I got a Westcott highlighter.
okay.
I ordered it. It came in, and it just so happened that's what he had on. Because I set it up immediately because I couldn't wait to use it. I wanted to see how it worked, and I knew other people that used it
Mhm.
and they loved it. So I was like, well, I'm gonna get me one, and because I need one anyway, right? So when it came in, he just happened to have on a red and black plaid PJs on, and we just we just got to work.
It happens. I'm not gonna hold it against you, Anthony. I'm not gonna hold it against you. But let me. Okay, so it's a one-off. I'll give you that one-off.
Yeah.
But if you're a person who wants to photograph a very specific thing, or if you're, let's say, a baker who wants to offer 3-tiered cakes that have like marble interiors and all the things, you
Right.
have to show what you offer to the people so that
Hmm.
they know what you are going to give.
Right.
Versus here's the next same something on Pinterest. You're like, that's not what I do. But here's what I do. So for me, I see practice as a way to bring my most creative ideas to life.
Yeah.
But it also lets me tell people, here's what I offer in terms of my art. Like, this is what you're going to get if you come down this road with me. You're not
Right.
going to get plaid PJs. Okay, let me stop. I did do a plaid PJ or plaid outfit shot
Yeah.
a few years back. I'm not going to lie to you. It's nowhere to be found. Let me just say that.
Right.
It's not out in the public, but I did do it because it's what they wanted. So I did it.
Right.
It's not what well, what can I tell you, right? Sometimes we will give in to the customer, but it's like, is that what you really want? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So we have done it. We have done it. Let's stick with the idea of getting better. So when you mention continuing education, there is a place where I appreciate YouTube University. I do.
Hmm.
But there's also a place where hands-on education with a professional, I'm gonna let y'all define that how you will, is also something that is priceless. Now, you're going to this event in Baltimore. How many times a year do you go to events that are in person that allow you to practice with other photographers or other persons in your field?
Between those and workshops, I'd say 6, maybe 7 times,
Ooh.
not including the stuff that me and the other photographers do at church. Because some of us, we're competitive, but in a good way.
Yes.
Like we're each other's rabbits. I'll say that. For people that don't know, like if you go to the dog races, there's a rabbit on the rail that goes around the track, and the dogs chase the rabbit. So, that's how I look at it. Like there was a guy at my church, Monroe. He got like this really dope silhouette shot one time, and I was like, this is too cold. I said, man, and one day I got my opportunity, and there's this lady. She's on the praise and worship team, and it was during COVID, so they kind of restructured the sanctuary, and they had like this big table that they were using as an additional stage, and she was standing on the table, and the entire like the stage and everything was backlit like heavily white. So she came up as a silhouette. She had a guitar. I said, if this ain't Purple Rain, I couldn't grab my camera fast enough. But that's what I call it, right? When people, for Purple Rain fans, on the movie, when it first comes on, Prince is just this silhouette, and all you see is him and the silhouette of his guitar.
Yeah.
Exactly how she looks. She had the guitar and everything. I was just like, got him.
You have to be able to see it. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So
that makes all the difference.
Right. And that other part of that is knowing your gear and knowing how to shoot intuitive, because for a shot like that, you don't expose for the person, you expose for the light. Which means you gotta speed your shutter speed up. That way you have that that perfect sharp silhouette, and the light is not overblown. So I know Ron had it on Tip Tuesday. I want to say maybe about a month ago when we were talking about shooting silhouettes and shadows. But that's where it comes in. So like you can just pick your camera up, hit the buttons, hit the dials real quick, and then because you only have so much time. You have seconds, literally, in most cases to get the shot. So I got the shot, and I text Monroe. I was like, yeah, I got mine now. It
is interesting how when you mentioned rabbit, I was thinking as a driver, there is always a rabbit that you're falling behind. So it's like if if or she gets caught by the cops, hey, it is what it is, right? So I always, my dad called it a rabbit. He's like, you're not gonna follow them? It's like, Puss, I can't keep up the speed. I cannot. Okay, like I can't. But yes, I do understand having the rabbit. Or if you're in the racing community, there is always some racer that you want to stick to because it's close to your personal record. You're like, if I could just have that one lady right there, I am bound to meet my personal record. So yes, it's good to have a rabbit. It's good to have something push you. Now, I will say this picture I took after I took a workshop from John Gress. His lighting workshop. And, we'll talk about mentors next, but it's a 3-light setup, which I never thought in the beginning that I could ever do 3 lights, because it feels as if it's so daunting. But then you work with somebody who is hands-on, and then you start getting all the information you need. That after I took his workshop, because you can take the workshop, but after that, you got to come back and practice what you just paid for. Why take a class and never put it into action? It's backwards. It's so backwards. And yes, Tip Tuesdays. We are paying attention, Ron Foster. We're paying attention. And shout out to Miss Elise, who is here. Shout out to Miss Elise. So it's like people pay for. There is so many things we pay for, and we never leave the classroom and put it into action. Now, this is one that I did about a couple of years ago. I think maybe 2 years ago now. Same thing. Yes, rabbits are great. This is not about competition, people. It's about finding something that inspires you to go to like that next level, whatever your next level is. So yes, my next level with this one, as I've shared on some other things, is that I wanted people to say that that was done by Photoshop, that it was a Photoshopped image. That was my focus for this one. And I got it. Somebody told Pastor Spears, they were like, oh, she just Photoshopped that. And I was like, nah, partner. G shot that just the way you saw it. We did not do the Photoshop. Now, did I take out some contrast? Yes.
Right.
Yes, I did. But everything else, that was captured as is on the ground. And he was like, really? I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I most certainly did. So it feels good to see yourself moving and grooving. So let me just go there really quick in terms of, and we're going to talk about this, but this is about criticism and feedback, right? And then we'll get into finding that mentor, but having someone to look at your work. Now, I'm going to let you give me your definition of it. I know what I have as an educator when it comes to criticism and feedback. People who have seen me talk know how I feel about criticism and feedback, but I'm going to let you give your idea of what you look for. Are you looking for, as they say, constructive criticism, which I don't know, or are you looking for feedback on your art or your craft, I should say?
For me, it needs to be somebody credible. Right? Like, let my mom tell it. I never took a bad photo in my life. But I'm not going to, I'm going to share my work with my mom because she's interested, right? But when it comes to like, certain jobs, I'll share them with Dana, my wife, and she'll give me, her opinions on some things, and it'll be good, it'll be bad. Some things have to be explained, and that's okay. But it's good because she represents who could be a person that could be a potential client. Not everybody's going to look at the photo through a photographer's eyes, right? So, so that's always good. And then you go to your people that you admire. Your mentors, or other photographers that you may follow you on social media, and they're going to tell you it was great, it was you could have done this, you could have done that, I would have done this, I would have done that. And it to me, it depends on what you were going for, because I remember there was a photo that I posted, I think last year, and the light was kind of hard, but I wanted it that way, right? It was a look I was going for. So, some people commented on that, but I was like, yeah, that's the look I was going for. And then they looked at it again and was like, okay, well, yeah, I see what you're trying to do. But like for things like that needs to be clean and not as artistic, like a headshot for someone that, that's working in a corporation, you don't need anything avant-garde. It needs to be clean, it needs to be crisp, it needs to be professional. So, when you're doing those things like that and it's more technical, yeah, like I'm going to people that I know that do this and they're known for this. Like I'm going to Omar, I'm going to Willie, and I'm going to ask them. And when I get their approval, it's an amazing feeling. And even if I get things like they say, well, you got to watch your hot spots. I mean, there's ways to fix that in post. But that was something that I learned when I first started doing headshots, is just, lower the power and then lower the shutter speed, because then you don't have the bright noses in this spot on your forehead, or like, in the cheek area, so that comes with time, with practice. But had I not shown them that, I wouldn't have known that.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And workshops, like you said, like, they're amazing. I mean, I try to go to as many as I can, during the year. Sometimes my schedule doesn't allow it. But yeah, I mean, you spend $100, $200, $300 on a workshop, and you go there and you got your camera out and you're shooting and you're having a great time and you're talking to models, you're talking to your mentor, you're talking to other fellow photographers. It's like, oh, what you been up to, blah blah blah, you catching up. And it's like some of the people during that conversation don't have anything to say, and it's because the camera's been in their bag since the last workshop. So
let me add on to that, because as always, you always give me the right, like, if we were in track, we would
Right.
be great, like in our passing of the baton. Like, I mean, we'd be solid. So I'm going to piggyback on that. When we talk about, for me as an educator, when I talk about criticism, I am very clear. It is subjective. As you mentioned, you wanted hard light. The people looking at it were like, well, that's not right. It's like, no. This is what I was going for. And like, oh, okay, because that is their opinion. Whereas your other credible people were saying, watch your hotspots, watch for this, watch for that. Feedback is going to tell you what you're doing well, and then give you very specific areas of where you can be better if you choose to go down that path.
Right.
Where you can be better. So when we've been talking about this, and I keep saying it doesn't matter what the craft is, I'm gonna spotlight Dr. Tachi. I'm gonna go ahead and spotlight Dr. Tachi, because as a person who has been doing still images, I have jumped into creating video, and I'm really energized by telling a lot of stories with video. But sitting down with Dr. Tachi and having her give me very specific things that I can do to tighten up on my videos, it's priceless. Yes, she is credible. As Ron says, here's like, you want somebody who is credible. She is credible. I've seen her work. There are people that we can look at, be it in video, be it crafters, be it writers, be it podcasters, whatever it is, photographers. You're looking at people and you're like, I really like how they do this. Kirk Nugent is another one. I love how he crafts his podcasts, right? Prime ATL, he's another one. I love how he does his work. I'm not trying to copy what they're doing, but I am looking at what they're doing to say, okay, how can I bring it into my sphere and make it my own? But without feedback from someone who's watching, who is credible, is really hard to figure out what you want to keep that is going well and what you want to let go of, because it's okay, but it could be stronger if you did this one or two things. Makes all the difference. Shout out to Jazzy, who is here. Good evening. As Ron says, time plus practice equals perfection. I'm gonna let you have that perfect, Ron. You know how I feel about perfect. I don't know why you come in here with the words. I don't know why he come in here agitating, stirring things up, but I appreciate it. He is my partner. He understands. He's my partner. I love it. So let me bring up this one, and I want to just repeat this really quick. We're talking about practice, right? So your creative journey, whatever industry you're in, you got to do some practice. If you're looking to be a writer, you got to actually write something. You got to write something. You need to share it. We're going to talk about finding a mentor soon. But this next image that I played, now this was at another workshop that I did with a really beautiful photographer. And I mean that in terms of spirit. She's, I mean, everybody, I can tell. I just say what it is, but she's beautiful in spirit. But the focus here was how to capture a picture that doesn't look like you used any flash. Now we're outside, so yeah, but there was flash here, people. I was like, dang, gee, just when I thought I've learned it all, we're never done learning, right? You should be, and I know I shouldn't go shooting on people. I believe in lifelong learning. You've already mentioned that you try to do like 6 to 8 of these workshops a year. So we already know that you are committed to getting your education. Can I just ask this one little side note? Because I am particular about who I get my education from. What are some of the criteria that you're using to determine if the person you're giving this money to is worth the money that you're giving to them?
Their body of work, how long they've been at it, that kind of thing. There's a lot, that's involved in that. You just can't say, hey, I'm hosting like for me, if I'm hosting a workshop, I'm not expecting a huge turnout, and it depends on what the workshop is going to be about. Like if it's, introduction, to camera, I feel really comfortable doing that, but things that I'm still learning, I'm not doing that. It's just a matter of, it's just a matter of your credibility, and what it is that you've done as a professional, but yeah, so
I agree with that. May I also add that
wait, one side step away for 1 second. Hold on.
I'm gonna let Anthony do what he got to do, but let me add in my take as a person again who has done some adult education. Can the person actually give instructions? There are a lot of people out here who are pushing a lot of things, and then you give them your hard-earned greenbacks, and giving instruction is not in their wheelhouse. It's one thing to tell somebody that I can show you how to do it. It's another thing to actually teach someone how to do it, teach them how to fish, so that when they leave the workshop, they leave this class, they can actually go out and duplicate what you have taught them, versus just grab this, put this here, put that there, and you should get the same result. Those are not the same thing. They are by no means the same thing. So I do want to make sure that when you are looking for people, and it doesn't matter what the industry is. If you're going to take a workshop on, let's say, podcasting, if you're going to take a workshop on creating social media, if you're going to take a workshop on writing, whatever it is, make sure in some form or fashion, you should be able to validate that they are actually good at what they do. I would say look for previous students' feedback or reviews, that if they said, hey, I went for this, but I couldn't get anything out of them, they never answered their email, or their instruction was like, ugh, or I had a great time, they were so encouraging, so uplifting, they scheduled times for like feedback sessions, whatever that is, look for that. Do your due diligence before you put out some money, because we just went through a whole kerfuffle. I think like these past 2 years, there was a spring of coaches. Everybody was selling something and everybody can't teach. I'm just go ahead and put that out there. So let me get into our next one as we go here before we talk about mentors. Before we talk about mentors, I mentioned earlier that practice, and I just wrote an article about why, in this particular case, photographers should really embrace self-portraits. And I'm gonna tell you people right quick, I have a lot of portraits of myself. Not because I think I'm cute, but I am cute, but because I'm always available. It's like, this woman, she always I'm gonna throw it in there, Anthony. I'm gonna grab it every single time. I'm gonna go ahead and grab it.
Somebody gotta do it.
Somebody gotta do it, right? But I know I'm always available, and there are ideas that I have in my head that the only way that I can get it out of my head and bring it into reality is to play with them. And Gwendolyn's always available. So over here, we have, that was like circa 2010. That was 2010, right? I'm using natural light, trying to figure out shadows and stuff. And then you fast forward to just last year, when I'm still in my gel era, my gel spotlight, add all the things era, right? The growth, when I look at my own growth, I'm like, okay, G, you're doing it. You're feeling pretty good. And then people, of course, are like, how did you do that? Well, I can show you how to do it. Like, I understand the math, understand the lighting. But that's 2010 and then 2024. That's a lot of time in there. So let me go back to this, because I only got to this place of having all of these gels again because of my workshop with John Gress and playing with lighting. How did you find your mentor? What is your advice for us to find a mentor that is going to help us grow in our craft?
I tripped over mine. Essentially, I mean, so like I look at Omar. He's my mentor, Omar Ramos, and I can go to him for anything at any time, and he's well, not always, but most of the time he's available, which is also important. Like you want somebody who's really, really good and who's already where you want to be, but you also have to be realistic. So with him, he's available more times than not. So we went to the same church and we would talk all the time, and he was one of the few other Nikon shooters other than myself, so we would talk, and then following him on social media after a while, and I was like, whoa, wait, he do this for real. And then he would host these workshops, and I started going to the workshops, and then I would pick his brain. And Omar is like really, really cool. Like there's no secrets. As long as you show up and you work hard, and he sees that you're working hard and that you're respectful, because at his workshops he runs a very, very tight ship. He's really protective of his models, because it's usually young women. There's a few guys that's in there, but it's mostly young women. And he's real cool about it. When he's teaching, he's not like this. He's not really, super strict. Like he wants you to get in there. He wants you to work. He wants you to do your best, and and take on what he's teaching. But he's a type of guy that's like, he does this, like I say, he does this for real. He takes it very seriously. So as long as you're taking it seriously, he's going to always help you out.
I want to say ditto. And you mentioned showing up. Now, I know for myself, I've had a few people who reached out to me to have them be mentored in something that's not photography, right? Because Gwendolyn does other things. Showing up is number one, because you're asking someone to give their time to you.
Right.
And if you don't show up, it's like, okay, how can I take you serious, right? And your mentor, they're doing other things, as you mentioned, like they have their own thing going. So you're asking someone to invest in you, but you have to be just as invested as you're asking them to be. If you're not prepared for your meetings, if you're not showing up completely, it's not going to work out. And I will say, for me, in picking my mentors, it was energy. We have to be able to vibe. And I have to feel comfortable. I shouldn't say have to feel. I need to be comfortable in your presence. And there's got to be some trust that you are going to be open and honest, encouraging, but you're not going to BS me. I don't need the BS. I need to know.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
This is working. This is not working. Here's what I would do differently. Yada, yada, yada. Like I said, I've mentioned Dr. Tachi a couple of times. I know I've mentioned John Gress. Audrey Woolard is the other young lady who is beautiful. So if you are a photographer, take one of her classes. She's the real deal.
Right.
She's also a Nikon shooter, even though I use Canon. But there are ways to find people that, now not everybody's built to be a mentor. Okay. So you may really enjoy somebody. You want to ask them, hey, are you open to being a mentor? Yada, yada, yada. If the answer is no, let it go, because not everybody is built for that. As Dr. Tati says, yes, show up. I mean, look, you're asking for a lot from somebody. And I don't think I really don't believe people understand how much goes into being a mentor for someone and the investment, the emotional investment that's
Yeah.
involved. And so if you're going to go down that road, by all means, be ready. Be ready, be honest. If you don't have it emotionally, then don't do it. So you know what? I'm not ready. Whatever the case may be, but let's be sure that you take all of that into account. But I say, if you're going to get better, beyond having your family and friends, which family tends to be a little on the, oh, it's great. It's like, why did you, like, no, it's not that, it's not that great. But you need somebody, as we mentioned earlier, who is credible. You mentioned someone who is going to, as you say, pour into you and give you what you need to be better. You don't have to do it by yourself. So beyond having a mentor, I do want to recommend that you also get a community where you can share your artwork with other people who are in your field. That's also a great thing, because they're going to look at it and give you some advice from their perspective, which is also very helpful. So let's not downplay people who are doing what you're doing. To say, you know what, you might want to, like, here's one last example before I go into what's new with Anthony. As a writer, I had a fellow colleague who's also a friend who was an editor. That's what she did for a full-time job and then outside. And she said, Gwendolyn, if you ever get a piece of work that is not dripping in red ink, yes, we still use red ink. They didn't read it.
Right.
They didn't read it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing worse than having a piece of work that you give someone to edit and they have nothing to say.
Right.
It's like, and you didn't even look at it. Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah.
So people, trust. If whatever you're looking to do, get you some people who are going to be open and honest with you, get you a mentor or an expert in that field. Hello, writer here who sends out writing still to say, hey, can you look at this and just like check it? It doesn't matter what it is. We're talking photography because that's what we do on a consistent basis. But it could be anything. If it's in your house, if it's your desire to do it, then I think about when I had to create my garment for college. I chose cotton piqué, worst fabric ever, first of all. But the construction, I got a C because of the fabric, but the construction was great. So I can tell you about some construction on a jacket, pants, a skirt, all the things. I got that down despite my C. So I want to talk about what's the latest greatest with Anthony Roland. You just got a brand new website. I'm going to play a little video. I would love you to tell us about your website and what's going on.
So this is my my website, and it was a little different early on. So the pictures that are scrolling, most of them are different. So we go back to having that community. And I was on a call with this group, and none of them are photographers, right? But they are entrepreneurs, and they are people who have their own businesses and they're successful. So they gave me some feedback on the website, and it was just like on the the photos that are scrolling on the homepage. It was like, okay, well, what are you trying to convey here, and with this photo and with that photo, and really, they really picked it apart. And I took all that, and I rolled with it, and I went back to the drawing board, and I changed a few things. So and I think it's better now than it was before. I mean, yeah, the photos on there were really cool, but it just needed to be updated. So I updated it. I didn't take it personally. I want to get, I want that, I want the feedback. I want to get those, those jobs, and those jobs come with, wanting to, having a potential client getting what they want, There's also something else that I'm working on. I explained to them that, I would like to, be involved in getting into doing some corporate events, headshots and, maybe, some conferences and things like that. And they said, well, this website is not going to get it. Your best bet is to have a website that's tailored to that specifically, because when someone from a corporation is checking out your website, they're not going to want to, sift through, all the other stuff that you do. They want to get straight to it, see what you can offer, what you're doing. Does it work for what we're trying to do? And if it is, cool, we'll book you. If not, then we'll keep you on and maybe use you for something else, or not at all. So that's what I'm working on currently, and just putting together something that's more tailored to that. And the link will be on that website, and I'll have like a separate LinkedIn page for that and all that. So, and I have a couple websites that they gave me as that I could use for inspiration for people who are booked and busy, not just, someone who is, who does these corporate jobs, but who does them and who also gets them. So, and that's important.
I want to say that it's we are always evolving. So, for myself, despite getting feedback from other people, I'm also giving myself feedback. There is a level of accountability of, Gwendolyn, today you showed up, or Gwendolyn, you did not show up today. Here's what you want to change next time, right? We should, I believe everybody should go through a little deal of what can I do better, and that's like a 6-month check-in, and then an overall year check-in, like what can I do better and how, and have people, like when people get websites, have somebody like go through all the links, check all the things, check the writing, have somebody edit. Like there's so many things that we could do to really be our very best in that time and moment, because we're always growing and evolving. And I want to do this before we wrap this up, because an hour goes by so fast, people. It goes by so fast. If you want to connect with Anthony, then by all means, you can connect with him on Instagram at AR_photography_16. And we do have here a QR code to go to Anthony's brand new website. Check it out. You may want to, if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you may want to connect with him and get some of his services. That is an option there too. So scan that QR code so that you can see what's going on. And, if you didn't get on Instagram here, you can still get on his website and go to his Facebook page and connect with him there too. So there are options. There are definitely options. So make sure you scan that QR code and see what's going down. Anthony, let me say this. Thank you for having this very casual chat about practice and mentorship. Mother says it was a great show, a great hour. Thank you, Dr. Tachi. We like to have these conversations. We need these conversations. And I mean this with the world. And I'm going to end it with this. So, Mr. Roland, do not go anywhere. Please stay where you are. But I want to say this, people keep saying, oh my God, AI is doing this and the market is saturated. The market only has one you. Okay. And we are not everything for everybody. So there's plenty of room for you at the table. If they can have 15 jars of peanut butter at your local grocery store, there's room for your peanut butter too. It's okay.
Right.
There's room there. We got to keep growing though. You have to keep evolving. And if you just stay stagnant, as we talked about in our last chat with Anthony, it's not going to work out well for you. So please don't do that. But I will say this. Thank you all for giving us your hour. Thank you, Ron, for checking out. Make sure everything was working well for me on both sides, both vertical and landscape. We'll see how that works out. And we're going to be back here on Friday for Girl Listen. Jazz is going to be here with us. So that's going to be a great conversation, because we like to get into some conversations. Until then, I want you guys to be safe, and we'll see you on Friday, Lord willing. Thank you for watching another episode of Small Biz Bites with Gwendolyn R. Houston Jack, where we chat with other creatives and small business owners about their journey. And we also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the GR Houston Jack YouTube channel, where you can get the latest and greatest.